Okay, welcome back, dear viewers and fellow Watchmen. Today's another video in my impromptu series on how I approach the whole shebang. This was originally going to be in a video on the Appendix N and what your Appendix N is and how that can assist you in developing your campaign themes and that sort of thing. But there was an interesting exchange this morning on X, and I felt like needed to do like a corollary to my first video. It started with a guy goes by Corpse Kings who published a game of the same name. It's got some interesting game mechanics. I recommend you guys check it out. But he was lamenting, the one true way versus what happens when the game gets in the hands of a consumer. And that got me thinking about what I was talking about in the last video, which was the baptism of your campaign, and what happens when you, the game master, sit down to start putting together a game for your players. And I just kind of wanted to add a little bit more to that, clarify a few things. So the whole point of the baptism is to sort of address this issue that you see that was sort of expressed by Corpse Kings and a few others. And that is this tension between the one true wayism of a lot of people and what we sort of feel like intrinsically at the table when we sit down and start working on things and start playing the game. This sort of like intuitive sort of impulse to experiment. And that's what I call it, the spirit of experimentation. I think is a better way to address this. And I've been thinking a lot about that in light of the interview Gary and I had with Griff Morgan, which is on my channel. Please check it out. Second watch, 11 p.m. Friday nights, Eastern Standard Time, 10 Central. We'd love to have you join the conversation. But he's a historian of like what was going on at the time D&D was created, and he's gotten into a lot of fights online over proper definitions and things like that. I'm not going to address that. What I learned from him talking to him is that, because he was saying things like, I've never even heard that expression, player agency, or, one-to-one time, this, that, and the other thing. I just call it D&D. And listening to him talk about how Dave Arneson approached the game versus Gary versus the Blackmore bunch, I really got the sense that, whatever they wrote in the book was probably just something that they wrote in the book, and that there was this sort of like spirit of experimentation going on amongst all of them. And I think that's carried through in the hobby and in the industry. Arguably, a lot of games that came after D&D might not have existed if it wasn't for someone saying, "Oh, I like D&D, but I think I can do it better," or "I think I can do this one thing better." And if you think about the OSR, that's exactly what the OSR is. I think I can do this better. It may not have been when it first started, but the OSR certainly has evolved into that. And I don't think we should lose that spirit of experimentation. I think that's what makes this hobby fun. But more importantly, more fundamentally, what are we doing when we sit down and put pen to paper and write a game system or a setting? You're trying to put rules to your imagination, and the imagination arguably is limitless. So I think you need that space for experimentation. All due respect to the one true wayers, like I said in the last video, they make very good arguments for specific things, like when's a good time to use one-to-one time, when's a good time to be rules as written, when should you deviate from lore, when is a good time to focus on story. I'm throwing a hat tip to the story gamers out there, versus procedure. All that stuff is great conversation, but I don't think we should lose sight of the fact that we experiment with how to express our imaginative faculties in game form every time we sit down at the table. And that's why I'm calling this series Game Master as Game Designer, because that's what you're doing when you sit down with your friends. You, the Game Master, are rooting around your tools. What's going to work for this thing that I want to do? And that's what we're going to talk about, and I'm going to be using my campaign, Lamentations of Elemental Evil, as sort of a jumping off point for conversation. So I hope you continue watching these videos. Yeah, I guess that's really it. Just like I said, a quick corollary to the first video, whichever way I should be pointing, I guess. Please hit like and subscribe, bell icon. Please join Gary and I at the Second Watch Fridays, and there'll be more to come. The next video will be about the Appendix N and what your Appendix N is and why that's important. But in the meantime, there, fellow viewers and watchmen, go create. Be creative, experiment, let your creative juices fly. And you know what, if you like rules as written, that's cool. If you like a strict textual analysis, that's cool. If you want to come up with something wild and crazy, you should. It might work, it might not, who knows. But we'll see. But anyway, that's really all I got. I'll catch you guys around. Take care.